Welcome to the Workplace Minute, powered by H3HR Advisors and sponsored by WorkHuman. Thanks for joining me for your quick update on what's important in the world of work. My name is Steve Boese. Today in the Workplace Minute, we're talking about AI, data centers, jobs, power, water, and one of the biggest questions now facing communities all across the United States. What should a town, a county, or a state do when a big tech company shows up and says, hey, we want to build the infrastructure of the AI future right here? Because that's what is happening all over the country. The AI conversations have been centered around chatbots or image generators, productivity tools, coding assistants, and lots of enterprise technology. But more and more, these conversations are about land, concrete, steel, power lines, cooling systems, water rights, tax incentives, construction crews, local politics, and jobs. The AI economy may feel just digital when we use it, but it's becoming very physical in the places where the infrastructure has to be built. The largest AI frontier model companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, and the hyperscaler cloud providers like Google and Amazon, they need enormous amounts of computing capacity to train and run increasingly powerful AI systems. That means more data centers, larger data centers, and in many cases, entire data center campuses. These are not just office parks with servers inside of them. Many of the new AI-focused facilities require huge tracts of open land, massive electrical capacity, highly specialized chips, advanced cooling systems, backup power, security, network connectivity, and access to reliable infrastructure that can operate around the clock. And the companies driving this build-out include the hyperscalers like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and others, along with the AI model companies, the chip companies, the data center developers, the utilities, energy providers, and certainly large investors. And for them, the argument is really straightforward. The demand for AI is exploding. Customers want more AI capability. Enterprises want AI embedded into every workflow. Governments want to be the leaders in AI. Investors are looking for growth, of course, and none of that happens without the physical infrastructure to support AI. Just like the cloud always meant a physical server on the ground somewhere, AI needs enormous physical resources and hardware to function. But for the communities being asked to host these facilities, the calculations are much more complicated. Now, the supporters point to things like construction jobs, tax revenue, investments in infrastructure, opportunities for local suppliers, and the chance to be just in the middle of the next major technology wave. And many of those benefits are real. Building a large data center can require electricians, pipe fitters, welders, engineers, heavy equipment operators, construction managers, and lots of other skilled workers. And during the build-out phase, there could be hundreds or maybe even thousands of jobs tied to a major campus, especially when these projects stretch out over a couple of years. But the long-term employment story is probably much different. Once a data center is built, it often does not employ anywhere near the number of people that, say, a manufacturing plant or a hospital or university, a typical corporate headquarters, or, say, a logistics hub might employ on the same footprint of land. There are some permanent jobs, of course, and many of them are good jobs: technicians, facilities engineers, security staff, network specialists, ops managers, maintenance, etc. But these facilities are largely automated. The permanent workforce might be meaningful, but it's often a much smaller number than the public imagines when they hear about a multi-billion-dollar data center project. So that's one reason why the jobs argument deserves very careful scrutiny. Communities have to ask, well, how many construction jobs will actually go to local workers? How many permanent jobs will be created? And what kind of jobs are they? And what skills will they require? Will the companies building the infrastructure be partnering with local community colleges, workforce boards, and other schools? And will local residents just be ready and skilled to compete for these jobs? Or will the companies fill those roles from outside the community? And then, of course, there are environmental questions. And this is where most of the opposition is growing. AI data centers require huge amounts of electricity. Globally, energy agencies and analysts now expect data center power demand to rise sharply through the end of the decade, with AI as the primary driver. And in the United States, the concern is especially acute because many of these proposed projects are concentrated in places where the electricity grid is already under pressure, where new transmission facilities are difficult to build, or where residents are already worried about rising utility bills. And for local residents, these questions are not abstractions. They want to know, will this make my electric bill go up? Will this make our grid less reliable? Will my community need new substations, new transmission lines, new gas plants, new backup generators? And if the answer is yes, who's paying for that? The company building the data centers, the utilities, the ratepayers, the taxpayers? And water is the other major concern. Data centers generate significant heat, and that heat must be managed. Some facilities use water-intensive cooling systems. Others use closed-loop systems, air cooling, recycled water, or some other newer methods designed to reduce local water impact. But these details matter tremendously. A project in a water-stressed region is not the same as a project in a water-abundant region. And a facility using potable water is not the same as one using reclaimed water. And a company promising sustainability in a press release is not the same as a company publishing clear, enforceable water use commitments. So those questions are driving significant local opposition right now to data center construction. New data from Gallup shows that 7 in 10 Americans oppose constructing data centers for artificial intelligence in their local area, including nearly half, 48%, who are strongly opposed. And barely a quarter of people are in favor of these projects, with only 7% strongly in favor. So that's why communities are increasingly asking for transparency before these projects are approved. How much water will be used? What source will it come from? And what happens during a drought? What about backup power? Will they have diesel generators on site? How about noise, emissions? How much land will be used? And what happens to the local community? Things like housing, emergency services, and public infrastructure during the construction. AI data center politics are becoming complicated as well. Local leaders may welcome the tax base and the economic development. State leaders may see data centers as a way to attract investment, modernize infrastructure, and position their region as a leading edge and part of the expanding AI economy. And federal leaders often see AI infrastructure as a strategic asset tied to overall national competitiveness, innovation, and security. But residents may look at the same project and see a very different picture. A massive industrial facility that utilizes local land, local water, local electricity, and really is stacked up against them, the people, to serve companies and customers and investors who are usually located somewhere else entirely. So that gets to the heart of the issue: who benefits and who bears the cost. The owners and investors certainly benefit if AI demand continues to rise. The hyperscalers benefit if they can meet customer needs and defend their cloud platforms. Enterprise customers benefit if they get faster, cheaper, more capable AI tools. Consumers benefit too if AI services improve. Governments might benefit if AI infrastructure strengthens their competitiveness. But local residents are the ones who live with the land use, the water pressure, the stress on the grid, disruptions from construction, higher utility costs. The payoff or the ROI to the local community is very much uncertain. So should communities just reject these data centers? I'm not sure the answer should be an automatic yes or automatic no. The better answer is communities should negotiate really hard, demand transparency, and only approve projects that deliver a clear net benefit to the people who live there. That means no more blank checks, no vague promises from builders, no secret agreements that prevent residents from understanding the overall environmental or economic impacts, no tax incentives without significant and measurable public returns, and no shifting costs onto households or small businesses. We need to stop pretending that a data center with maybe only a few dozen or 100 or so permanent jobs is the same thing as a major long-term employment engine for a region. But it also probably means not just rejecting every project in every community immediately. It does seem inevitable that AI infrastructure is going to be built somewhere. And the question is whether communities can shape that development in ways that protect residents and create real value. A better model would require companies to pay for the grid upgrades they need, use clean or low-impact energy where possible, minimize the use of fresh water, publish all their water and power commitments, make investments in local workforce development, support local schools and community colleges, create pathways to opportunity and employment, and basically share more of the upside of the AI boom with the local host communities. And finally, we have to connect this all to the bigger job story, which we talk about a lot on the Workplace Minute. AI identity centers will create direct jobs in construction and operations. They'll often create secondary jobs in energy, infrastructure, engineering, maintenance, and other services. But the longer-term job impact of AI is probably going to be larger and could be more disruptive. The very systems that these data centers power may automate tasks, reshape entry-level work. They're already reducing demand for some roles. They might increase demand for others, sure, but they're changing how companies think about productivity, headcount, skills. And that means a community could say yes to an AI data center and still face AI-driven disruption in its own labor market. The local upside might be construction jobs and tax revenue, but the broader downside might be fewer opportunities in things like office, administrative, technical, creative, and other professional jobs that AI is increasingly able to impact. And that's the tension. The infrastructure of AI may create some jobs locally, but the applications of AI may transform or eliminate jobs everywhere. So I think a reasonable view is probably this. Communities should not be asked to sacrifice without question and without concessions for the AI future. They should be treated as partners and not obstacles. If the AI economy demands land, power, water, workers, and public trust, then the companies building that economy have to earn that trust. They need to show the math, they need to share the benefits, and they need to reduce the harm. And they need to be honest about the trade-offs. The future of AI is not just being built in labs or boardrooms or out in Silicon Valley. It's being built right now in towns and counties and school districts and utility territories and just neighborhoods across the country. And the people in those places deserve more than just empty promises. They deserve facts, protection, and a say-so in their future. If AI is going to reshape the world of work, then the communities hosting the infrastructure of AI should not be left wondering whether the future is being built for them or simply on top of them. That's it for the show today. A big thank you to WorkHuman for supporting the Workplace Minute. Be sure to subscribe to the HR Happy Hour on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Steve Boese, and this has been the Workplace Minute from H3 HR Advisors.